If you walk into a room and can't remember why, it could be nothing or something more. If you confuse a familiar recipe, it could be a slip-up. Or it could be associated with amyloid plaque buildup in the brain. Amyloid is a protein that your body produces naturally, but a buildup in the brain could lead to memory and thinking issues. To see what may be behind your memory and thinking issues, talk to your doctor about getting a full assessment. It's never too early to start the conversation. Visit amyloid.com to learn more.
This week on Viewpoints.
If we can take control of the cues we send, if we know exactly what to do with our hands and our body and our face and our voice, that's actually a way that we can cultivate an authentic sense of charisma.
How the small cues we give off can change how we come across. Then,
I began to wonder if we were a part of his research, especially when I found a file on me.
What if you found out your childhood was part of your parents' research? I'm Marty Peterson.
and I'm Gary Price. These stories in depth this week on your public affairs magazine, Viewpoints.
Hello.
Hi, this is Regional Power and Utility calling to inform you of an outstanding balance.
I thought I paid that.
You're scheduled for immediate shutoff unless it's resolved today.
Uh,
I can help you make your payment right now.
Learn to pause, reflect, and protect yourself from scams with the help of the AARP Fraud Watch Network.
nice try.
Visit aarp.org/fraudwatch network to recognize fraud sooner. The younger you are, the more you need AARP.
Most of us have had a conversation that we replay later in our head, wondering why it felt slightly off. It's not always the message itself. Often it comes down to the subtle cues layered into what we say and how we say it.
We are constantly transmitting cues to others, so telling others how they should treat us based on our cues. And others are always sending these cues back to us about their emotions, their true feelings, their comfort. And so I set out to try to codify and catalog these cues so we could speak them like a language, so we could understand exactly what cues we're sending to others and also know how to read the cues that are being sent to us.
That's Vanessa Van Edwards, a human behavior researcher and the author of Cues, Master the Secret Language of Charismatic Communication. Her work breaks down the dozens of verbal, nonverbal, and vocal cues. These are all invisible signals that most people pick up on naturally.
I am a recovering awkward person, so cue reading did not come naturally to me. I have a hard time processing social information. And I also thought from a very young age, since I was always feeling awkward, oh, well, charismatic people, it must be an innate trait. You know, you're either born with charisma or you're not. And thank goodness, I found the research finds that charisma can be cultivated. Charisma can be learned. And so when I set out to catalog these cues, I found that this was sort of my secret side door into confidence, that I'm not an extrovert, I'm more of an ambivert, and that if we can take control of the cues we send, if we know exactly what to do with our hands and our body and our face and our voice, that's actually a way that we can cultivate an authentic sense of charisma.
One place to start is by noticing the cues that may be working against you. She gives this example.
So the question inflection is when we ask our statements instead of saying our statements. So this is when we go up at the end of our sentence. So if I were to get on this interview and say, hi, my name is Vanessa. I'm here to talk about cues, and I'm really excited to be here. If I did my entire interview in that up talk, you would begin to doubt my competence. And that is exactly what the question inflection does. It's a cue that signals questioning. And so a lot of the time, people who are very smart and very intelligent, but anxious or nervous, they give away all their confidence and power by asking their statements.
Small shifts in how we speak, like our tone, can change how self-confident or uncertain we sound to someone else. Van Edwards compares two different vocal inflections side by side in a voicemail greeting.
So I were to say, hi, this is Vanessa. I'm happy you called. Leave a message. I sound a little bit uncomfortable and anxious. And actually, our cues are quite contagious. That can transmit anxiety. Whereas if I were to use a downward inflection, it would sound like this. Hi, my name is Vanessa. I'm so happy you called. Leave a message. Totally different types of cues.
And it's not just your voice. A lot of these signals show up visually, too. Subtle body language can send strong signals like someone is holding back or feeling unsure, even if that's not the intention.
So a lip purse, it's very simple. You can try this with me. It's when you mash your lips together, you press them down into a hard line. So if you press your lips down together, that is a universal cue of withholding. When we want to hold something in, or we don't want to speak too much, or we're trying to keep it together, we lip purse to try to keep our thoughts together. This is a really important cue, one that you don't want to accidentally send to others. It literally signals, I'm holding back, I'm not telling you everything, which always makes people nervous. You also want to try to spot this cue. If you're with someone in a presentation or a pitch or on a date, and they suddenly lip purse around an answer, that is your perfect opportunity to say, that all makes sense. Are we all good? That is a perfect opportunity to find out just a little bit more information.
Even common habits, like crossing your arms, can read as being closed off or uncomfortable. Van Edwards suggests keeping your posture open and turning towards the person you're speaking with to signal openness and confidence. She points to a pattern she sees on the popular TV show Shark Tank, where many successful pitchers lead with this body language when first introducing themselves.
One thing that we found was that the pitches that were going to go really well, so an entrepreneur was more likely to do well, was when they immediately non-verbally greeted the shark or the panel of sharks. So a non-verbal greeting is when we have our palm up, when we raise our eyebrows up, when we verbally acknowledge someone, oh, Robert, it's so good to see you. So on the one hand is in the first 10 seconds of any interaction. And that could be a video call, that can be in person. You want to non-verbally greet the person you're with. So every video call, I always start with a palm up. Hey, good morning. Nice to see you. That little wave, that little tiny signal of acknowledgement is exactly what makes people feel like, I'm seen and heard. It's so small, but just that little palm up gesture when you walk into a room or hop on video will immediately begin to trigger trust and warmth.
Another big tip when it comes to body language is maintaining the same rules on a video call that you would in person.
In person, we sort of know we don't want to get too close to someone. We don't want to be a close talker. We want to make sure that we're a couple feet away. On camera, it seems like all these rules go out the window. So people will hop on a video call, open up their video, and they're, a couple of inches away from the screen. That is like being a digital close talker. And immediately, instinctively, when we see someone who's too close to the camera, we actually feel like they're in our intimate space. Even though we know logically they're across the land, across digital space, that is a signal that will immediately trigger mistrust.
From Zoom calls to in-person body language, making these little changes over time can make all the difference. And don't worry if it all feels overwhelming or unnatural at first.
I would love for folks to think about learning cues like learning a foreign language, right? So when you're learning another language, you learn word by word. It's the same thing with cues, right? There are 96 cues in the book. If you tried to use all 96 at once, it would be like trying to go and be fluent in another language in the first day. First, I want you to pick the cues. Start with the cues that sound the most exciting to you, the cues you think you can use the most often. And there are going to be some cues you try on it and you're going to love. There are going to be some cues that you're like, I have to work with this. And there are going to be some cues that don't feel like you. And that's okay. I want you to stick with the cues that feel really authentic and exciting.
To learn more about this topic and our guest, Vanessa Van Edwards, visit viewpointsradio.org. You can also check out her new book, Cues, Master the Secret Language of Charismatic Communication, available online and in select bookstores. This segment was written and produced by Amira Zaveri, studio production by Jay Silvers. I'm Gary Price.
Coming up, a daughter revisits her father's work and discovers she was one of his subjects when Viewpoints returns.
We know life is busy. That's why saving money should be effortless. With Atlantic Union Bank's Roundup Savings, every time you use your debit card, your purchase rounds up to the nearest dollar and automatically goes into savings. So whether you're grabbing coffee, filling the tank, or picking up groceries, you're saving without even thinking about it. It's just one of the ways Atlantic Union Bank makes managing your money easy. Learn more at atlanticunionbank.com or stop by a branch today. Atlantic Union Bank. Any way you bank.
You have your perfect patio ready to go. Matching lounge chairs, comfy sectional, throw pillows arranged just so. But with summer comes the blazing hot sun. And without the right shade, no patio is complete. That's why you need a Sunsetter awning. Sunsetter transforms your outdoor space into a cool shaded retreat, up to 20 degrees cooler. Less squinting, less sweating, less going back inside. Now that's a perfect patio. Visit sunsetter.com and right now get $350 off your awning.
We've been the trusted experts since 1960 because nobody knows tires better than we do. And with over 90 tire brands, we have an abundance of options in stock for your vehicle. Buy and drive today at discounttire.com. Let's get you taken care of.
Every day brings somewhere to be, and everyone counting on you to get them there. With seating for up to 7, the 2026 Jeep Grand Cherokee L keeps busy schedules moving, from early practices to late-night games and the triumphant ride home. Available 4x4 capability helps you drive safely and confidently when weather shifts or plans change. The laughter, high fives, and shared wins become the memories you cherish in the 2026 Jeep Grand Cherokee L. Jeep and the Jeep Grill are registered trademarks of FCA US LLC.
For a long time, even throughout the 1960s, interracial marriage in the U.S. wasn't just controversial. In many states, it was illegal. That changed in 1967 when the Supreme Court unanimously struck down those bans in Loving versus Virginia, a case brought by a black and white couple from Virginia who were arrested by the state for being married. But years before that decision, one Chicago professor was already testing a different idea. Robert Roberts, a white social anthropologist at Roosevelt University in Chicago, believed interracial marriage could challenge structural racism from the inside. He married a black woman in 1954, and they had 3 daughters together. The eldest, Dorothy Roberts, is a professor of Africana Studies, Law, and Sociology at the University of Pennsylvania. She's also the author of The Mixed Marriage Project, a memoir of love, race, and family.
He was interested in dating Black women and interested in Black people and was very concerned about what he called the racial caste system in Chicago. He wanted to topple that system, and he thought interracial marriage was a good way to do that.
Throughout her childhood, Robert's father interviewed hundreds of interracial married couples, focusing entirely on Black and white couples. Sadly, he passed away before he was able to publish the book, and in his absence, Dorothy Roberts was determined to complete his research. However, she quickly realized there was more to the story than she expected.
I just assumed that he was interested in this topic because he fell in love with my mother, and that a book on interracial marriage grew out of the love and devotion they had to each other. It just never occurred to me, and he never spoke about prior interviews. So it never occurred to me that he had become interested in this topic long before he met my mother.
Roberts had mixed feelings about this connection and questioned whether her entire childhood and family unit were just part of his research. She remembers discovering a file numbered 224 among the interviews he conducted with children. This was her file.
It just was an obvious question that occurred to me because he was so interested in interracial marriages before he started one for himself. But, I was very close to my father. He discussed his research with me a lot, and he was very involved in my upbringing. And I knew he loved me dearly, and I loved him. So I really don't think in the end that he had a family just to support his research, but our family and his research were definitely deeply, deeply entangled with each other.
Roberts never knew her white grandparents since they died before she was born. She later learned her father delayed marriage until after his mother's death, believing she would have opposed his relationship with a Black woman. Roberts also didn't know any of her white uncles.
The prejudiced members of the family were definitely his brother, his younger brother, Edward, who disowned my father when he married my mother. And I never met him, even though he and his family lived in Chicago. I never met him. I never met my cousins until I looked one up as an adult after I'd become a professor. I looked him up. This cousin of my first cousin was a professor at University of Oregon, and I looked him up and we connected for the first time. I was already grown and had a career. So that brother, Edward, definitely had a problem with my father marrying a Black woman.
She wonders how her father became so open-minded. One possibility was his time living with an aunt who was a missionary in India. After high school, he spent months in a small village, an experience that she believes shaped how he saw culture and the differences between us. As for herself, she grew up in Hyde Park on Chicago's South Side, a racially integrated professional neighborhood. But even within that environment, lines still existed. She didn't cross into nearby areas that were predominantly Black and lower income. This was a divide she only fully recognized later.
And growing up, I really regret to say that even though there were kids from this area, we just called it 47th Street, the whole area beyond 47th Street. Kids from 47th Street I went to school with, I really didn't become close friends in the way I had sleepovers and birthday parties with the children who lived south of there. And we were told not to go beyond 47th Street.
Roberts says that when she was a little girl, she wasn't aware of the advantages and privileges she enjoyed as a Black child with a white father.
When I was very, very young, I was very proud to be part of an interracial family. I can remember walking down the street with my father on one side, my mother on the other side, holding hands and skipping between them and being so happy that the world could see that it was possible to have a loving, happy interracial family.
But by the time she was off to college, her feelings had changed. Roberts fully identified as a Black person and at times felt the need to distance herself from her family background.
I hid the fact that I had a white father because I didn't want anything to interfere with my close relationship with my Black colleagues and fellow students at college. And if anything, I thought more about my Black identity and my affiliation with Black people than thinking about privileges I might have had from having a white father. I later began to think more about that. My whole career has been writing about racism and white supremacy, white privilege, and what it will take to have a truly multiracial society where everyone is treated equally.
Today, Roberts recognizes the complexity of this experience. She understands that her father's race shaped where she lived and the opportunities she had, even as it raised difficult questions about privilege and belonging. And in her father's research, many interracial couples described experiencing direct and often extreme discrimination,
including having to live in the Black Belt where Black people were forced to live because of residential racially restrictive covenants as well as mob violence and other forms of discrimination. So that has changed dramatically. But it's still the case that interracial marriages are rarer than you would expect if people didn't pay attention to race. So just at random, if people got married, just matched randomly, there would be far more interracial marriages.
That said, race is still a major factor when people consider potential partners. Roberts did a study of dating apps and found that, by far, white men were the least likely of any group to marry interracially. Experts say that 20% of all marriages in the U.S. are interracial. This includes all races and not just Black and white.
But it really depends on where you live. There's more in some places than in others. You may see more, for example, on a college campus than in, a rural area somewhere in the United States. So it depends on where you look. But I agree with you that even though the numbers and popularity or acceptance of interracial marriage has increased since 1967 and increased dramatically, that it's still not common. I think that interracial marriages still do garner, as with you, a surprise. People still talk about being stared at an interracial marriage.
She describes a black man and his white wife, whose son has light skin and blonde hair and doesn't look like his father.
He was joking about how, well, kind of joking, but also concerned that people give him the strangest looks, and he's afraid that some people think he's kidnapped his own son. I've known Black women who have children with their husbands who are white, and people believe the mother is the nanny of the child. So there's still, I think, a sense that there's something strange or unusual about interracial marriages, interracial relationships, interracial families that continues today.
Even though Roberts has published her father's research, she disagrees with his theory that promoting interracial marriages is a path toward racial equality. Instead, she argues that relationships don't erase structural inequality, and that real change requires a broader reckoning with how those systems operate.
I think that it's when we achieve true racial equality, when we are able to think of all human beings as equal and understand our common humanity, we'll see more interracial relationships. But at this point, as was true in the 1930s when my father started this project, the barriers, the divides, the stereotypes that are based on race, I think, are so strong that we're not going to see the number of interracial relationships we would if those barriers didn't exist.
Roberts believes meaningful change begins with acknowledging our shared humanity and rethinking how we relate to each other. Her book, The Mixed Marriage Project, a memoir of love, race, and family, is available now online and can be requested through your local bookstore. To find out more about our guests this week, visit viewpointsradio.org. This show is written and produced by Polly Hansen. Our executive producer is Amira Zaveri. Our studio manager is Jay Silvers. I'm Marty Peterson.
Viewpoints returns in just a moment.
No two businesses run the same, so banking for your business shouldn't be one size fits all. That's why Atlantic Union Bank offers knowledgeable guidance and tailored solutions designed around your goals. Whether you're managing cash flow, moving money, or protecting your business from fraud, we make banking for your business both personal and easy. Call, visit us online at atlanticunionbank.com, or stop by one of our local branches today. Atlantic Union Bank. Any way you bank.
You have your perfect patio ready to go. Matching lounge chairs, comfy sectional, throw pillows arranged just so. But with summer comes the blazing hot sun. And without the right shade, no patio is complete. That's why you need a Sunsetter awning. Sunsetter transforms your outdoor space into a cool shaded retreat, up to 20 degrees cooler. Less squinting, less sweating, less going back inside. Now that's a perfect patio. Visit sunsetter.com and right now get $350 off your awning.
This is Viewpoints Explained. I'm Ebony McMorris. Intel used to be the gold standard for computer chips. Founded in 1968, the Silicon Valley company played a big role in modern computing with the creation of its x86 processors, the foundational chips that still power most personal computers today. It was a market giant in the 1990s and 2000s when its processors were found inside the majority of PCs. Meanwhile, the AMD, which stands for Advanced Micro Devices, sat mostly in the shadows as the cheaper budget option. Fast forward to today, and the tables have turned. Earlier this month, a rumor spread quickly online that AMD might buy Intel. By its end, the big news turned out to be an April Fool's prank. But to many, the takeover kind of made sense. Intel once controlled more than 80% of the computer processing market, but today, that dominance has faded, and AMD has taken the spotlight by winning contracts in some of the most demanding parts of the industry. Meanwhile, Intel is struggling to regain ground and has been plagued by manufacturing setbacks and missed timelines in its rollout of data centers and advanced computer chips. Both brands still manufacture x86 computer processors, but the profit gap between them has widened. Investors have largely backed AMD's approach, driving up its stock prices as demand grows for its more cost-effective chips that power cloud services and AI. Intel, on the other hand, is still working to define its next move. At this point, it's clear the company is losing ground. What's less clear is whether this iconic American brand can catch up. That's Viewpoints Explained for this week. More in a moment.
Welcome to Culture Crash, where we examine what's new and old in entertainment. For years now, there's been hand-wringing about the potential infiltration of AI technology into the Hollywood landscape. The 2023 writer's strike had a lot to do with fears about executives using AI to write scripts, and a so-called AI actress named Tilly Norwood allegedly has Hollywood excited about a future that doesn't necessarily require highly paid actors. But like with most AI announcements, generative AI in Hollywood movie making continues to be more rumor than reality. And the latest Hollywood blockbuster, Project Hail Mary, is a good example of why I'm just not sold on the truth of an AI-generated movie resonating with audiences. Project Hail Mary is a sci-fi comedy epic starring Ryan Gosling from directors Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, who have proudly boasted about having 0 green screen shots in the entire film. Instead of relying too heavily on computer graphics, Lord and Miller used practical sets and a puppet of an alien. They made the movie the old-fashioned way, with clever lighting and models, allowing expert artisans to blow audiences' minds in camera. And the result is a genuine crowd-pleasing hit. Like Barbie and Oppenheimer both did back in 2023, Project Hail Mary prioritized using real sets and staging practical stunts to make something visually distinct, and crowds can't seem to get enough. Compare that to the diminishing returns of the superhero craze, where audiences have grown tired of climactic CGI battles that all look alike, with sludgy, computer-generated gray skies. And it seems to me that the love and care it takes to make a movie with practical effects truly does resonate differently, and more strongly, in audiences' hearts and minds. I'm Evan Rook.
You have your perfect patio ready to go. Matching lounge chairs, comfy sectional, throw pillows arranged just so. But with summer comes the blazing hot sun, and without the right shade, no patio is complete. That's why you need a Sunsetter awning. Sunsetter transforms your outdoor space into a cool shaded retreat, up to 20 degrees cooler. Less squinting, less sweating, less going back inside. Now that's a perfect patio. Visit sunsetter.com and right now get $350 off your awning.
And that's Viewpoints for this week. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram to learn more about upcoming shows and find a library of past programs on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Spotify. Plus, you'll always find previous segments and more information about our guests at viewpointsradio.org. Join us again next week for another edition of Viewpoints.
Tires matter. They're the only part of your vehicle that touches the road. Tread confidently with new tires from Tire Rack. Whether you're looking for expert recommendations or know exactly what you want, Tire Rack makes it easy. Fast, free shipping, free road hazard protection, and convenient installation options. Go to TireRack.com to see tire test results, tire ratings, and consumer reviews, and be sure to check out all the special offers. TireRack.com, the way tire buying should be.
Traveling isn't about where you go, it's about what you find and who you become. Silver Sea brings you to the places that stay with you long after you've left, from the tropics to the Arctic and everywhere in between. Explore every continent on small ships that redefine ocean travel. Venture further than ever thought possible and return transformed. Here's to you, to finding the best version of yourself with Silver Sea and to finding more. Visit silversea.com to learn more.
From small towns to big cities, Comcast is connecting millions of Americans to affordable, reliable, and secure Wi-Fi at prices that are clear and consistent with the new 5-year price guarantee. Backed by AI innovation, resilient design, and cybersecurity technology, the Comcast network is built to keep families and businesses connected and their data safe. Learn more about how Comcast is investing in a more connected America at ComcastCorporation.com/investment.